It's us.
What?
We're doing a thing.
A thing?
Yeah. It has been a while since I've used this overlay. Oh my. You would think with a pandemic being a pandemic that like people would be starting a podcast, but we're just like, nah, fuck it.
Nah.
Right, like
Nah.
nah, dog. That ain't me.
Just being chill. Just being chill. That's what we're about right here. But we're here to be a little more dead than just chill, I think.
That was a really shitty segue, dude.
It was a really shitty segue. What was I
Come on,
thinking?
man. You've lost your
Ah,
touch.
I have.
You
I
used to be
have.
Segway King.
I I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to me on that one. I don't. It's. I've lost my mojo. That's all I can say is I've lost.
We're gonna have to travel in time and get it back.
Yep. Hop that TARDIS and let's ride. Anyway, we are here to, as the stream title says, talk Shadowlands, because that's coming out in about a month now, month and a week. And of course, the past
probably reflect a bit on Battle for Azeroth as well.
Little reflection on that. And but the past 4 weeks have been some very exciting explorations into what the world of the Shadowlands should be bringing us.
Shadowlands is, of course, the new expansion for the world of Warcraft.
Yes.
A game that Jordan and I avidly play.
Avidly. Very avidly.
Yeah.
It is the newest. This should be the 8th expansion, if I'm remembering my count right.
Yeah, we're going into 9.0.
Where we are going into the afterlife.
Yeah.
The world of the dead, as it were.
Bring out the dead.
I don't want to go on the cart.
Alcatraz.
So, somehow we had a brief run from Monty Python into Eddie Izzard this morning. But the Warcraft team, much in the art style that they've started doing for their sort of...
It started in Legion.
Was it Legion or was it Warlords? Because I feel like this is the same art, or even as far back as Mists. Because I feel like the Emperor Shao Hao stories were done in this sort of motion comic style.
Yeah.
But it's
only become like the dominant style since
Legion.
Since Legion.
Yeah. The Harbingers. It gives us, well, what people thought was going to be a sort of sweeping introduction to each of the 4 new covenants or factions of the Shadowlands and their zones. Have raised a lot of questions in some of our minds about what is truly coming to us in World of Warcraft, the Shadowlands.
Yeah, they're all very good little primers for their own zone, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm very, very happy they've gotten rid of this level in any order bullshit.
Thank you. Because I believe this was one of our biggest gripes about Battle for Azeroth, especially
on the Horde side.
The Horde side, where it had a great story to tell, but by giving us the freedom and the agency to do the story in any order that we want, we kind of lost something along the way
Yeah, it didn't. They didn't plot the story out right.
Right.
Like, it's also one of the problems with using a previously known character
Mm-hmm.
in the Prophet of Zul, right? Because they were building to this big twist where it's like, oh, so the Prophet Zul has turned on King Rastakhan, and every single person that has any idea about the lore whatsoever went, wait, the obviously evil person that has clearly betrayed us at least 4 times before now is evil? Surely not.
Try to get my Dan Dastardly mustache going.
Yeah.
Twirl the mustaches.
Like, anyone who had any idea whatsoever about what was going on in any way, shape, or form was just like, duh. Right? Like, it's angry making is what it is.
I mean, Legion had this do it your own way, but each zone was sort of a self-contained
Right.
story attached to it.
It had its own self-contained story, and your largest story was your Order Hall campaign. Right? So things could make a bit more sense that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Alliance side in Battle for Azeroth carried that on by having the zones be their own little their own little story, and the stuff that tells you the meat of the story is the interconnecting tissue that isn't relevant to what's happening in the actual zones. Whereas on Horde side, the zones themselves were part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it just didn't hit for me.
Yeah, and you kind of lost something, got lost along the way playing the Horde side. Because I know when we were playing, there were just moments where we'd go and we'd do one quest. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And then like 3 weeks later, we'd go and do another quest. It's like, that quest we did 3 weeks ago makes a little more sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Shadowlands does away with that. It has 4 zones. Bastion, Maldraxxus, Ardenweald, and Revendreth, which are 4 of the...
Before we go any further, Jordan and I haven't looked at any spoilers to do with Shadowlands. The only things that we will be discussing considering spoilers are in the animations. Everything else we discuss outside of like little things we've heard about the pre-patch will be absolutely our conjecture, our own thoughts and ideas. Just want to put that out there for that disclaimer. So
Yep, we're trying to keep this as just, this is what we know from public, what you can find and see, focusing mostly on these 4 Afterlives animations. I point to the side of my screen like you guys can see, but that's where my notes are. They're pinned up on that side of my screen. These 4 zones that we'll be exploring are part of the infinite afterlives of the Shadowlands, the world of death, not really undeath, death.
yeah.
In the Warcraft cosmology. Each zone having its own sort of domain over what it deals with in the afterlife. And probably one of my favorite little bits of the aesthetics of one of these zones, which we'll get to when we get to that specific zone's Afterlives. The idea of the story of Shadowlands is we're going into the realm of death, following Sylvanas breaking the helm of domination off the head of the Lich King, um, and pursuing her there. We will follow through, as we just mentioned, a linear story that takes us through these 4 zones as we explore death and what death means to the world of Warcraft.
Yeah, or rather, what post-death means. It'll be very interesting to see. What's the word I'm looking for? The effect this has, right? Because they were very outspoken about how time works differently in Shadowlands.
Yep.
Which the moment you mention that in anything, everyone goes, "Oh, time skip."
Yeah.
So,
Which I guess we'll have to see what happens in 2 years when the 9th expansion comes out, patch 10.0 comes around. I guess a year and a half.
So there is a strict order to the zones in Shadowlands, right? You go Bastion, Maldraxxus, Ardenweald, Ravendare. It is the order I think they released the Afterlives trailers in, right? So I guess we just cover them in that.
Yeah,
order?
I think so. I think that's what we do. First zone up, Bastion and the Covenant, the sort of faction you work with in that zone, are known as the Kyrians. This is where the spirit healers come from. They are, for all intents and purposes, the shepherds of the dead. This animation is probably the most striking and lore rich of the 3 animations, in my opinion, because it centers on Uther, the Lightbringer, opening with his death at the hands of Arthas, the Lich King, or the Death Knight at this point. I don't think he's the Lich King at that point in the story. And his sort of calling, being chosen and sorted into join the Kyrians as one of theirs.
Extended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Till you find out that he is still wounded even after death because of the attack from Frostmourne.
Yeah.
And this is where we find that Frostmourne and possibly more artifacts associated with the Scourge and the Lich King come from the realm of the Maw, the realm of the damned, basically.
There's this really cool little shot where you see Uther getting stabbed, right? And you can literally see his soul leaving his body. And half of it is like blue and going towards Arthas, and the other half is like
gold
and going up to the Shadowlands.
I will tell you right
super
now,
interesting little. I cannot wait to get my paladin in here. Like
the aesthetic to Bastion, why we can't wait for our paladins, is this high heavens that we're familiar with seeing in Diablo. Just to fill that in for people, it is very much the white spires, the golden armor angels.
Even though they got blue skin.
Even blue skin. Everyone's been calling Uther Bluther for this.
I'm okay with this.
Because he's a blue skinned Uther. But one of
it's like Blue Tista.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the key moments in this cinematic is Davos, this paragon of loyalty, who's helping Uther find his justice and his peace in the afterlife.
She sort of, because for a while Uther isn't accepting of his destiny, right? and she starts doubting whether he deserves to be there at all. And then he shows her the wound, and she loses her shit. She's just like, fuck that guy in his face. Like,
very much so. Because she identifies Frostmourne as a weapon of this realm of the damned, the Maw.
Which they were of the opinion nothing had come out of for decades.
Millennia.
Yeah.
Ever. So when she confronts her leadership about it, I get almost this imperious from Diablo 3.
Yep.
That the fact that the Kyrian are so caught up in their purpose and the surety of the way that the Shadowlands operates, that they don't see any other options. They don't see how anything else can be different and change. And I'm just really fascinated about what is the dark secret actually hiding in the underlayers of this pristine white city.
I don't think there's so much a dark secret as it's just the leadership being blind to everything else that's going on due to like zealotry faith.
That pure raw zeal.
Yeah.
Zeal. That's the word.
And they're gonna have a problem. Like, they're gonna have a massive problem dealing with the fact that people who aren't dead are now in the afterlife. Like, if any of the four covenants are gonna be a bit aggro about this, it's gonna be the Bastion Covenant, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna be like, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. GTFO. Right?
Yeah. That or their whole thing is going to be, because part of it, of becoming one of these ascended for the Kyrian, is basically purging your past.
Yes.
It's a very central point to, if Uther had gone through this process to purge his past, they would have never found out about the fact that Frostmourne was a weapon of the Maw.
Yeah.
He would have completely forgotten it, and they won't have that information anymore. So I feel like part of the Bastion story going forward, I'm very excited to see this, is them trying to sort of drag us as these mortal heroes into their fold and lose ourselves in our connection to Azeroth to join their cause in their crusade.
Yeah.
If that is where it is headed.
The aesthetic of theirs, like I said, the architecture aesthetic is very much that high heavens, gleaming spires thing. But like armor wise and things like that, it's a bit closer to like, imagine if like Lightforged Draenei and and Titan constructs fucked a lot and had bebbies, and that's kind of the aesthetic of the armor and things like that.
I think it's very fascinating. One of the things, as we'll go through the rest of the zones, and I'm very much looking forward to playing Shadowlands, is seeing these aesthetics of this universe we've played in for the past 20 years almost, that we are now starting to see sort of the ancient roots of where some of these come from.
Yeah.
We'll talk a bit about in this next zone of Maldraxxus and the Necrolords, which is take the Plague Lands, especially the Western Plague Lands where Strat is, and This one goes to 11. Actually, this one probably goes to 50. Not so much 11 anymore. It is very
Which
much
is
that.
weird because that isn't really communicated in the video. The video is basically, look, we did Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Right? Like.
Right. We did Game of Thrones, and we stole Corona. Not Corona. Draka. There we go. Why did I say Corona?
You're an idiot.
Yeah, I am an idiot.
Oh no. Hold on.
Oh.
I have fixed the cameras.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Draka.
I don't know how long the camera's been messed up, by the way, but I have fixed them. They were not messed up to begin with, so.
Draka, Thrall's mother, who gets
retrained
as a rogue and an assassin and a spy.
Yeah. Jon Snow. You know nothing, Jon Snow. I'm just saying that a lot when we level in that.
There is, as Bob mentioned, there is very much a Game of Thrones tier level of what feels like power play going on between the different sub factions amongst the Necrolords.
But like you were saying, the plague aesthetic and things like that is really not communicated in the video at all. Like, it's really not.
I think the closest one is kind of just the presence of the undead and the
right, but it's an expansion about the afterlife, so technically everything is undead.
Right, but the Naxxramas is a
Ziggurat.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
You sort of see that at the end as Draka's leaving the big Naxxramas looking fortress that she just left from sort of explode and fall from the sky. It's very interesting because I think despite I think this is probably going to end up being one of the more lack of a better term, noble of the factions and zones, because at the end you have Draka in her armor. It's like, we are here to defend the Shadowlands from any threats. Thoughts, words, and I think despite the Game of Thrones style power plays going on amongst the sub factions, I think part of the story we'll be going into is almost this unification story of behind Baroness Draka, of sort of pulling the Necrolords together into one rather than a series of smaller sub factions.
So the thing to know about Maldraxxus, right, is where it's been promoted as the military center of the Shadowlands, right? So just bear that in mind. We'll begin to see a lot of, like you said, the undead and stuff like that. So I think I saw 5 factions
at
vying for control.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's made clear in the cinematic that the leader of Maldraxxus has gone missing, right? And and it is suspected that one of the noble houses has assassinated him. Like, we're not joking when we're saying it is the Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Let's just hope it ends better.
I
think I just made Jordan sad.
No, a little bit, but it's just There's that whole scene in Game of Thrones that was a direct ripoff of the Wrath of the Lich King opening cinematic. Oh well. Uh,
I wouldn't know. I didn't watch
and
it.
I felt, now I feel sad.
I did not watch the Game of Thrones.
um, I feel like when we come in, we'll probably end up, there'll probably be 3.5 of these sub factions, these houses that we'll be dealing with, because it's also made clear in the cinematic that one of them is already fallen.
Yep.
He does very much, the narrator, not the narrator, but the person training Draka does this very checkmate type thing where he flips over one of the towers on a big map. And as mentioned, he ends up getting blown up in his big Naxxramas looking ziggurat thing.
Yeah.
So who knows how much of that faction will be left? Because Draka changes factions there. She leaves the House of the Eyes to join the House of the Chosen, as it were.
Words.
Yeah. Words. Things. That will have more meaning in about a month and a half.
I'm just looking forward to seeing Draka because of all the characters they introduce as focus characters in the cinematics. She's the only one we've not met before.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you have Uther in Bastion.
Mm-hmm.
You have Draka in Maldraxxus. And then in Ardenweald, kind of have Ursoc. And then in Revendreth, it's Garrosh, right? So, of the 4 people that they focused on in the cinematics, at least, I'm sure there will be more that we run into in various places that probably aren't best pleased with us. Like previous raid bosses and stuff.
It was only a setback.
Can't wait to stab him again. Like I'll be very surprised if we don't run into Dalen at some point.
Interesting.
Can't wait for my Cold Terran to run into Dalen and just kick him in the jimmy.
Haymaker. What?
Punch him in the dick so hard I send it to the afterlife. The rest of him stays here though.
Fun.
In case I haven't made it clear, fuck Dalen Proudmore. Carry on.
Interesting that you should bring up Ursoc, because he's kind of the introduction to the Ardenweald and the Night Fae. Cinematic.
Yeah. When you watch this one, prepare for the feels.
All the feels. Like every reaction video that deals with this cinematic, everyone just... And this is really the first cinematic of the whole of all of these that sort of mention the overarching conflict, the overarching problem of the Shadowlands, of what's happening in the Shadowlands right now, at this moment, which is a drought of the energy that sustains the afterlife. I guess while it's not explicitly mentioned like it is in the Revendreth one, it's very much alluded
to. It's alluded to, yeah.
This Grove Keeper trying to keep Ursoc's spirit sustained in its sort of sleeping. Because Ardenweald is the realm of the wild gods. It is the cycle of life and death that druids and the wild gods very much adhere to. In the Night Fae being the covenant you work with. And as seen in the cinematic, it is very much decaying from a lack of this energy that sustains the rest of the Shadowlands.
Basically, the overarching thing in Shadowlands at the moment is, instead of each zone gets souls assigned to it based on a criteria, right? So Bastion gets souls assigned to it based on their deeds in life, whether they are worthy to become shepherds. Maldraxxus gets the bravest souls, the fighters.
Brave and the bold.
Ardenweald is the souls of nature and purity in the cycle of rebirth. And Revendreth gets those that were sinful and prideful in life. And usually the Maw gets the irredeemable, the big, the no-nos, right?
It is the Maw of the Damned.
Yeah. However, in recent times, the other 4 zones aren't getting
their souls.
Every soul is going automatically to the Maw.
Fast tracked. Pew!
Yep. And that is leading to, we'll say, issues in the other zones.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a very central conflict, as we were saying. That there's this storyline that we're being driven through, and this lack of souls, this energy that helps power each of these zones, is very much going to be that central driver.
If they need anima, just go beat up on some Mogu. That shit's everywhere.
Yeah. I think one of the interesting takeaways I got from the Ardenweald cinematic is we have this cycle of life, death, and rebirth, resurrection that exists in Azeroth, that exists amongst many of the peoples and cultures of Azeroth. But now we are seeing the fact that this cycle can be stopped and ended on a very permanent basis. I don't know how far I want to go into what happens.
I think it's safe to go into anything that happens in the cinematic itself.
Okay. So as we mentioned, Ursoc, who we kill as a raid boss in the Emerald Nightmare raid,
yep.
He comes to Ardenweald and he sleeps. He's going to hibernate until he can restore his power, and he's ready to come back into the world as a force, as one of the wild gods, as this force of nature. About halfway through the cinematic, this is where we see the drought. The keeper of his grove is going around trying to find anima energy to feed him, to help him nourish, and he overhears and finds other keepers who are basically draining his grove, the souls from his grove, for their anima energy. And there's this very
he flips out
and beats the shit out of a whole bunch of them before the Night Queen,
the Winter Queen
shows up and sort of gets him to breathe. And he's given this choice to either give
up one soul to save the rest of his grove.
We'll save all of Ardenweald, really, is where it's going. Because Ursoc is the last soul in his grove that they want to harvest. And the keeper, Arlon, I believe is his name, basically is the one to drain Ursoc's soul into the overpower of to help keep Ardenweald going. So, it is a this is probably going to be a very heartbreaking zone to go through. If this is the story they chose to tell to introduce the zone, this is going to be a bit of a heartbreaker of a zone for I think any character, any player to want to go through. Where you're
the other interesting thing about this, right, is it suggests a couple of things. It changes fundamentally what we think of as gods in WoW. Because the wild gods that we always thought of as gods aren't. Right? Like, but you also get to one thinking, then what happened to the rest of the wild gods? Why did never come back?
What happened to him? What happened to Ursak was who's Ursak's twin? Because it's
Dave.
Ursak. Because it's two bear. I could have sworn it's two bear wild gods, Ursak and another one. Where's he been?
There are a few. There's Ursol.
There we go. Ursol's Vortex.
There's Asina. So Ursok. So it's Ursol, Asina, Ursok, Portola, Malorn, Ashmane, Goldrin, Aviana, and Black Betty.
Most of these who we've seen in Hyjal and helped them out in Hyjal in sort of one spirit form or another.
Yeah.
Except Aviana, who I think is
all over the place.
All over the place. Yeah.
And she was in Hyjal.
Oh, was she?
Yeah. Aviana's Roost is in Hyjal, where you do stuff with Thistlery. Anyway.
So it'll be very interesting, and this is also Ardenweald. This was mentioned at BlizzCon, is also the domain of the Loa as well.
Yeah.
So, what's up with Bwansamdi and all the other Loa? I haven't read the book, so I can't comment too heavily on it, but apparently in the Shadows Rising book, there is a very strong mention of what Bwansamdi has been up to in the Shadowlands post between Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands.
We're back to this bullshit again, putting the storyline in not the game.
Yep. So I'm hoping that it is something we get to deal with in game. As great as I'm sure the books are and the interviews I've heard with the author of the book have been, I'd really like to see this.
Like to actually play the story to my game.
Yeah. Rather than, have to go catch up on 20 some odd novels. So yeah, that is Ardenweald, which I believe brings us to
Revendoreth.
Yes. Anybody who's ever played Vampire the Masquerade, this is probably going to be the zone you're going to jump into.
Wow. Just pigeonhole people. Yo, Jordan.
Revendreth and the Venthyr.
Hi, my name's Jordan, and I'm a judgy bastard.
Indeed, I am. um, Revendreth and the Venthyr, as mentioned, is the sort of a zone of redemption for those with pride, an abundance of pride attached to them.
The sin.
Old Miles never played it. I like Revendreth as a zone, but as far as the story for just this cinematic wasn't as engaging as the others. That is true.
I think that's because they were trying to not give away things. I do like the cinematic was more. Given that it's probably the darkest zone of the four, the fact that it was also the most light-hearted cinematic really just that hit my sense of humor on the spot. It was like,
I also like one of the things I like about this cinematic is that it is so very unapologetic about the fact that there's a drought and the leadership of the Venthyr are very much taking
they're hoarding everything,
and
yeah.
they're hoarding it. My note is it seems that this is the only zone story not really hiding anything in its animation. The leader of the Covenant is clearly corrupt and hoarding animal while the rest of the Venthyr starve slowly.
Oh, I bet it's hiding something.
Oh, I'm sure, a few more rewatches, but the couple of times I've got to watch it before.
No, I mean like it's
the zone itself.
The zone itself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like there's something there.
It's pretty much business as usual to them. In fact, it seems like they enjoyed it even more because of the suffering of the underlings around them. And I believe this is a comment that I heard a lot in the reaction videos, the fact that Garrosh, who was this big, I'm doing things for me, for my horde, for 3 expansions, 2.5 expansions,
Yeah,
has been reduced to an old reliable workhorse as a source of anima power for the Venthyr, which I think is going to be a very fascinating thing to explore as we explore the Revendreth zone, is finding these.
though I swear to God, if when we meet Garrosh, he has a voice line that says, "I did nothing wrong," I'm going to punch my monitor.
COVID be damned, we are taking a trip to Anaheim.
COVID be damned, I need to find me a Chris Metzen to kick in the dick. I know he doesn't work on the thing anymore. I'm just saying.
I'm very much looking forward to seeing what villains of the story we run into in Revendreth that have been brought low from what they felt was a vaulted status.
Yeah, I expect if we see them, I expect this is where we'll still see Calthalas. Because of all the things, he was one of the most prideful. I would just... maybe this is where we're going to find Dalen as well if we find him. That would be a good place for that. Yeah, it's been... The 4 cinematics have really got me excited for
playing
BFA.
This story
for Shadowlands in a way that the cinematics for BFA didn't. Like, only one of the cinematics for BFA really got me excited, and that was the Daughter of the Sea. Right? The others just made me go, oh. Right? Like the what was the other one? The
Burning of Teldrassil.
No, the middle one. The blah, blah,
that's Azshara.
Yeah, the Azshara one. That just made me go, they're gonna waste it. And they did.
Now, the last two expansions here, Legion and Battle for Azeroth, have had patches where they basically introduced whole new zones to the game. We had Argus
Right.
and its 3 zones. In 7.3, I want to say was the final sort of set for it, and then Mechagon and Nazjatar in 8.2. Is there any, knowing that Shadowlands is this infinite realm of Afterlife, to the World of Warcraft cosmology, is there sort of a mentioned Afterlife that you would like to see us explore a little deeper?
I mean, the answer's obvious, isn't it? I want to see where the dwarves go.
The dwarfs!
Because they're not... Because the thing about, like, humans and elves and things like that is they're all created as alive, right? Dwarves and gnomes didn't originate as sentient species. They became so with the curse of the flesh. And I would be very interested to find out what that means, if that changes the afterlife status of a dwarf, or if we can find like Magni's actual body running around somewhere rather than his diamond one.
Champion.
And I just stab him and be like, I've been wanting to do that for an entire fucking expansion. Or we could find the dragons. What happens to the dragons when they die? Where's Zera? Where's Deathwing? Where's Malagos?
We have almost an entire dragon flight. 2 almost entire dragon flights that are dead. I personally would like to see that zone of afterlife that we get to experience in the Drust storyline, rescuing Jaina.
Yeah,
now I'm blanking on the name of that area, but where, obviously the Kultirans and the ancient Kultirans and the Drust have a very rich afterlife existence. Is that tied in with Ardenweald? Is that tied in with something else? Or is it its own completely independent afterlife that the Drust and the Thornweavers are sort of woven into?
What about the I'd also like to see some expansion on... Now, we'll probably see a lot of this during Bastion, right? But what happens to souls that are ripped away early, right? That are corrupted, right? Like, we'll probably find out some of this under Revendreth as well when we deal with Garrosh. Garrosh was corrupted by the old gods. But like, what's going to happen to pick a corrupted person, right? Like Lady Ashvane, what happened to her? Or what if we can find is it Nanthos? Find Blightcaller's body before he was born.
I think willingly giving yourself to the power of an old god and welcoming that corruption still technically corrupts you.
It makes you not... What I meant more than corrupted is not necessarily his way of thinking, but his soul was changed on like a
very fundamental
spiritual level.
Yeah. I think even willingly, willingly walking your way into
Hey Daniel, try and chill on the emotes a bit, bud. But Karen, sorry, George.
willingly walking into a health ward where an infectious disease is being taken care of, uh, is welcoming you to also get that. Is welcoming you to get that disease. Opening your soul to the power that an old guy can give you is still going to corrupt you. Just because you're welcoming it doesn't mean that corruption isn't going to just be like, oh no, you're welcoming me, I'm just going to stay over here.
Yeah, but again, I'd like to see the afterlife for some of the like
Titan
the Mantid or the, what are they called? Because we see a lot of communication with the Tauren and their ancestors, right? So there has to be a way for those spirits to cross the veil back again. I'd be very interested in that.
I think one zone, I don't have a name for it, but we seem to also just be missing, for lack of a better term, an Elysium. Right? Where is this place of rest? And Bastion, we have obviously we have the high heavens aesthetic of Bastion, which a lot of people would see as quote heaven, but there's still people doing a duty. We have Maldraxxus, which has people still doing a duty. We have Ardenweald, which is this realm of rebirth, the cycle of life.
Right, so what you're thinking of there is one that hasn't been shown in a cinematic.
Right, it hasn't been shown at all.
Well, no, it has. It was talked about at BlizzCon. There is a hub city called Oribos, the Eternal City, which is kind of the Elysium. It was supposed to be the Elysium, I think. I don't know for sure, but I just know that that's going to be like the central hub city. That's going to be our Dalaran. It's going to be our Shattrath. It's going to be.
I don't know. I guess when I think of Elysium, I think of like
you mean paradise, right?
Yeah, I think of like that scene from Gladiator where it's Russell Crowe walking through the wheat field, just like I'm.
The problem I think there is there's no one definition of paradise on Azeroth. Right. So to druids, Ardenweald is paradise.
Because it means we're coming back.
To paladins and things, Bastion is paradise. Right? So it's...
Yeah. I mean, either way, I think it would be... I think we'll see a... Who knows what we'll see in 9.2, 9.3, whenever.
This is the thing is part of the thing we wanted to discuss is what we wanted from the expansion, right?
Right.
Like, I don't know. My main issue is, I think, there's a lot of we'll take stuff from the chat here in a minute, so bear with us. There's a... I'm going to go back to Battle for Azeroth for a minute, right? I'm very glad that they're doing away with the level in any order. I'm very glad they're getting rid of that. It allows them to tell a more coherent story. However, I hope they have things a bit more planned out than they did in Battle for Azeroth. Because I feel with Battle for Azeroth, they'd always intended Sylvanas to be the final boss. Right? That's what they'd intended. And then everyone went, "Oh, you're just doing Garrosh again," and they went,
Full guts.
No, no. Here's a eye penis. I just feel that that's what they'd kind of like. That's what if you look at previous expansions, right? Everything had been fairly weighted towards us knowing what the final boss was going to be from the beginning of the expansion, right? Even in Mr. Pandaria, they said at BlizzCon, well, the final boss is going to be the Siege of Orgrimmar, where we finally take down Garrosh, right? And everyone went, wait, how do we get from A to B? Like,
right.
But then with Battle for Azeroth, there was no coherent story on either side. So the opening of Battle for Azeroth through Uldir, the Horde side gave you the introduction to Uldir, right? And it was like, oh, on Alliance side, you were just like, Bran going, hey, there's a thing. We should do the thing. We should do the thing, right?
Champion. No, sorry, wrong dwarf.
And then in 8.2, with 8.1, where they introduced Battle for Drazalor, that was all Alliance build up. Everything from the beginning of the X Pack to 8.1 on Alliance side to build up Battle for Drazalor. And if you were on Horde side, you were like, wait, what?
The Alliance are invading? What?
The Alliance have mined literally our entire fleet, and we don't know about it. How? Oh, they have stealth bombs. Why not just set some up in the city? And then we came together for 8.3, 8.2, and 8.3, right? And it just felt, I don't know. Miles, just going to the chat here. Dodgy Daniel says, you guys are making me excited for Shadowlands, and I do appreciate that. Good, because we're excited for Shadowlands. Super excited for Shadowlands. Do you think the graphics in Shadowlands will change at all? Yes. A bunch of stuff is getting up. I'm expecting to get updated models and things like that. We're already seeing some of it in Brewfest that started yesterday. A bunch of stuff has got updated.
You can check out on
Brewfest.
The PTR. A lot of the graphics updates are already out on the PTR, character creation screen and whatnot.
Miles says, I feel like BFA was a tale of two dev camps that wanted to do an Old God X pack, another one to do Alliance as well. Exactly, Miles. That's exactly where I was going with that. He says, one wanted to do an Old God expansion, and the other one who do a final Alliance versus Horde expansion. See you later, Daniel. Take care of yourself. But yeah, I completely agree with you. It was they had no direction. They had there was so Battle for Azeroth. The 3 Battle for Azeroth patches. Bear with me on this. This is going to be a journey. I liken to the Matrix trilogy. Right? The start is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I love the original leveling experience on Alliance side. It's okay on Horde side. It's much better if you don't know the lore as well as some people do. You don't know much about Zul. You don't know much about the various things. Then you aren't going to see as much of it coming, right? And then you get into 8.1, which would be the second Matrix movie. And for some reason, my there we go. I'm back in focus now. Which would be the second Matrix movie, right? which was built up to be really, really good. And you were like, is it good? And then the third Matrix movie came out, which would be 8.2. Right? And you're like, but they didn't deliver on half the stuff that 8.1 built up on. So 8.1 is going to be remembered as a worse movie. Because 8.2... It's like they did 8.1 and then it was just like hard right turn to Old Gods. Right? It was like they'd always clearly planned to have Ashara involved, right? Because she's in the Harbinger cinematics. But I don't... And yeah, we've seen it before with Warlords of Draenor. I mean, I don't know. Miles is right, like...
Yeah, it is very much reactionary story, very much reactionary storytelling. To have, and I feel like I feel like it's kind of what made doing the Mag'har unlock quests feel a little.
Oh, you mean when the Draenei on Draenor just purged an entire realm?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, they've gone from the Burning Legion to the Light Legion. I think one of the and I'm hoping that this is fixed because we sort of with this level squish, the idea of part of it squishing going back down to 60 and sort of condensing everything is that Battle for Azeroth is basically the new start. Is basically the start of where the story is going from.
Yeah,
and I don't think they're trying to erase all of the history that led up to it, but it almost feels like they're trying to do like a soft retcon reset of.
Well, I just think that
also
what they're trying
to play through it all.
What they're trying to say is that chapter is finished, right? Let's focus on
what's coming next.
Yeah. Mr. Mars TV in the chat says, Yrel was supposed to have more of a story. Yeah. That was a shame. I would have loved to have known more about Yrel. Hell, I would have loved to have known more about a lot of the Draenei on
Draenor.
On Draenor.
Yeah. I think
also how is let me formulate this. You keep thinking. I've got to think of a way to put this.
I think one of the things I'm very much looking forward to in this new paradigm of storytelling that they're going with Shadowlands, it's not really a new paradigm. I guess it's going back to an old one. Is if you play the Alliance side of Battle for Azeroth, we discovered there is almost a narratively correct way to go through it. And while you have it, you also have the narratively correct way to do the zones was basically only half the zone.
Yeah.
The other half of the zone was a very interesting story that helped build up the story of the zone. And it almost sounds like that is where the level design, the zone design, the quest design of Shadowlands is headed from the discussions we heard at BlizzCon last year. That is almost where it sounds like it's headed. It will have this very narrative story that's going to drive us through the 4 zones, and then there'll be more to explore when we're ready to go back and explore the rest of the zone.
Yeah.
So I'm very much looking forward to a return to that rather than the
go anywhere, do whatever you like. Yeah.
Now you'll see. You know.
Ooh. Here's an interesting thing. How is our Shadowlands going to deal with having 2 Guldans?
Because there are two Guldans now in this dimension.
And they both died in this reality.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Like, is there going to be somewhere where the two Guldans are like making a Spider-Man meme? Gul'dan pointing at Gul'dan.
That'd be funny. We end up we go to explore Torghast, and at the very top of Torghast is just Gul'dan pointing at two Guldans pointing at each other. Here's the imposter Gul'dan. Becomes a twin emperor.
It turns out that the jailer is just J. Jonah Jameson, minding pictures of Spider-Man.
I want pictures of Gul'dan.
Another interesting thing I think that they could play with in and again, I want to point out, Jordan and I have seen no spoilers. We haven't looked into any of that kind of thing. And I have mentioned this again the moment that Ian mentioned at BlizzCon. Time works differently in the Shadowlands. Everyone went, "Oh, time skip, time skip." I think it'd be very interesting to see what that means. Does it mean time in different parts of the Shadowlands move differently? So, like, 10 years in Ardenwald is a year in Revendreth.
Is a day in Bastion.
Is a day in Bastion.
Is a millennia.
Is my wife coming down the stairs? Yes, she is. You can hear her. Or, because everyone's assuming that time's going to run quicker in the Shadowlands, right? What if time runs backwards in the Shadowlands? It's like we come out of the Shadowlands like pre-Legion, and we know everything's coming, so we just go straight to the Tomb of Sargeras and cut them off at the pass. So that way we can be like, well, we just retcon the fact that Azeroth has been stabbed.
In fact, we're in Shadowlands for so long, we predate the first Horde invasion of Azeroth.
Yeah, just like completely rewind the clock.
It would allow for...
That being said, the whole point of changing the new leveling is to get rid of the timey-wimey bollocks. So that's probably not going to happen. But, could you imagine, like, predating the first Horde invasion of Azeroth and, like, a Mechanome pops out? Like, what? And all the humans are just like, kill it!
That is true.
Or a Draenei.
Ah, demon!
But,
Why is that Eredar skin blue?
Oh.
I'm waiting for that in the next...
Well, they wouldn't even have met the Eredar yet.
That's true. We wouldn't have, would we? Because they what is that, Third War? Is that when they pop in? Yeah, I guess so. Yay, xenophobic humans! Yay!
So, Gilneans.
Yeah. Well, I believe the.
All right, my one wish for Shadowlands is I get to kill Gang Greymane.
Yeah, useless.
Twice.
Cur.
Put his fucking flea collar on and kick him to the curb. Leave him in the fucking Shadowlands.
I did this. Oh, you didn't.
You prick.
You spent the whole expansion wandering around Proudmoore Keep.
You spent the entire expansion flirting with Jaina's mom. A, ew. B, that's my job. And C, no. I'm gonna become Jaina's daddy in more ways than one. I'll be very interested to see where they go with Talia. I mean, they're not going to
yeah.
abandon that character. For those of you that only play Horde side, on the Alliance side of Battle for Azeroth, they introduced a character called Talia, and at the end of the war story, it was revealed she is Bolvar's daughter, and given that Bolvar's awake, that might be a thing that comes into play. They're probably going to do some more with Arthas' sister, the light undead.
Light Forged Forsaken.
Yeah. What's her name?
Kalia.
They're probably going to be moving towards installing her as the head of the undead. At least if Lillian Voss has anything to say about it. And it would be very interesting to see how that plays with the Shadowlands, like a light forged undead.
That poor bastard we helped in Stormsong Valley becomes the new leader of the Forsaken. I don't remember his name.
You mean the guy that Sylvanas kills in a cinematic?
Yes,
for helping out Jaina's brother.
Yes, that guy.
Yeah, that guy. That guy that's dead.
Yeah, that guy.
I will be very surprised if the end point of Shadowlands doesn't end up with undead on both factions. Because that seems to be what they're angling for. And if there's ever a time for that to come to be an entire expansion about death, is probably it. If you guys in the chat have any thoughts about Shadowlands, please shout them out. We'd love to discuss them.
We're
probably going to go for another 20 minutes tops, but
yeah. Just one mechanical thing that we have sort of branching from the cinematics, looking forward to. The Pandaren, up until now, have been sort of you play through the starting experience and then choose a side. How do you feel about the sort of the new mechanism in character creation where you pick your side right out of the gate?
I don't think it's a problem. I mean, if I'm very, very honest with you, I don't think a single person ever went into the Pandaren starting zone not knowing which side they were going to choose.
Okay, I was just curious. I mean, it makes a lot of logical sense with the new leveling experience being basically either pick your racial starting zone, or do this new Exiles Reach, which is supposed to launch you into the Battle of Azeroth, Battle for Azeroth storyline.
Yeah.
So you don't get much wiggle room of the pick a faction. Though I would be very interested to try playing a Pandaren through their racial starting zone to see if you still get that choice.
You probably will. I will probably. I don't know. Just like. I don't know.
We both have our spreadsheets set up so that we can try to make sure we get. I know my bare minimum is I want at least one arm. I want each armor set for each of the factions, for each of the covenants. So that's a minimum of 16 characters for me. I currently have my list of 24 characters set up so that I have all of my I have all of my races all lined up. And my current standing is I have 1 cloth wearer, 5 leather wearers, 1 mail wearer, and 3 plate wearers. And I'm
less worried about the Covenant armor. I'm less worried about that. I'm more worried about I'm more worried about just getting one of each race and class at this point.
Mm.
And I've got that set out for you. I've reserved some names. I've changed a few things around. So, but I do know that the moment pre-patch drops, I am going to start leveling a Tauren Paladin.
Ooh.
I want a Paladin on Horde side.
With a flower in its hair.
No. No. While that's cool, no. Just want a Tauren Paladin. Gonna hurt things.
Wow.
The one thing I say I am super excited for is some of the transmog changes.
Yes.
I love the fact that you're going to be able to use Legion artifacts across spec, and I love the fact that you'll be able to transmog your main hand and offhand separately. It's gonna be cool.
I don't know. I don't think we were on a stream. I think I was just showing it to you in Discord, in a Discord stream. But we sort of went through the character customization options on the screen. I hopped in on Rast, my druid, and checked out all the cool stuff you can do in the barbershop as a druid, where you get to use your Legion appearances in cat and bear form, even if you're not Feral or Guardian spec. Super happy about that.
Yep.
Super happy about having the Staff of Ghana here to use on my Nordrasil set instead of the Scythe of Elune, because the staff with the stag head looks a lot cooler than a scythe. I think
But let's be honest, I'm just looking forward to being able to use Doomhammer on an Elemental Shaman.
I was really upset that it was an enhancement shaman.
Which made no sense to me.
Because Thrall was an elemental shaman, I think.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. He was more of the elements, less of the beat you with a hammer. More.
I mean, there was a certain amount of beating with a hammer, but that's because hammers
and orcs. But he was still more of a rah element. I don't know why I rose the hammer. No, rah elements. Running, jumping, climbing trees.
Again, this is stuff that we don't know. I'll be interested to see how heirlooms are affected with the stat squish, the level squish. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's still something that's sort of being tweaked around in beta builds about what specifically heirlooms do now.
Okay. I'll be very interested to see what happens with mount levels. Like, what level do you get mounts now?
Right, and what speeds, how they scale up and speed up. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to being able to play and explore more of the game. Honestly, I know one of the troubles I've had is just in my limited time, leveling alts just hasn't felt great, because it's sort of, you get to a point and it's like,
all right, I get to do Northrend.
Yeah.
Again.
I get, and I think with the speed up, I think they're expecting 70 to 80% faster leveling process. And the fact that I get to do the stories, am I going to end up doing Legion like 12 times? Yes, I want to end up doing Legion like 12 times, because I still need to finish unlocking more
class how, yeah,
than just Druid and Warrior. But I'm, I think with the opportunity to pick an expansion I really want to do and explore the story too.
Yeah.
I would also feel a lot more confident and comfortable about talking about the story of the expansion.
Yeah.
Because if you were to try to say, hey, yesterday Bob messaged me and said, "Hey, remember when you got to do this thing in Legion?" I was like, "Maybe, no, not really."
Yeah, no,
Legion,
I don't remember that at all. Yeah.
Legion. It was so long ago for me doing Legion stuff, and I only ever really had one character do all of the Legion stuff outright. So I think being able to go back and it's like, I'm doing Burning
I need you
Crusade,
to step
and
away for a moment, Jordan. You keep talking.
I'll be able to take a character and be like, I'm doing Burning Crusade, and now I can talk to people about the story of Burning Crusade with confidence. I'm gonna go do Wrath of the Lich King, and I get to see more. Another problem I have is, again, with my limited time, I don't get to do. I feel like I rush through some of the stuff. I don't get to see all of the story that's there. I don't get a chance to sort of take my time through it. And now I think I will have the opportunity to go back. And my understanding is that part of the story design of these Time Walk expansions is that they're going to sort of help guide you through the story a little more cohesively. There'll be specific quests that are flagged as these are the stories. This is the story of the expansion, and I'm going to be able to go back and experience that story. Has me very excited, and very much looking forward to doing those expansions again, where I'll be able to actually talk about the story of the expansion rather than talk about half the story and realize the fact that only I'm only talking about half of this. I'm only talking about half of what actually happened because I rushed through pieces to catch up to what other people were doing.
Yeah.
I get caught up in making sure that I'm not having to get Ubered around the expansion on
Why Ubering you around, man?
Yeah, but there's just a certain point where it's like it'd be nice to be able to do it on my own and being able to also talk about the story while I'm doing it. I think is probably the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. The new leveling paradigm and new leveling experiences is being able to play the expansion. There's a specifically outlined series of quests that are the story of the expansion, and then the so that I get the whole story of the expansion rather than only half of it or a third of it, because I play and then I end up rushing through chunks of it.
Yeah.
So that's me. That's me looking forward to what I'm looking forward to most out of the leveling.
I'm looking forward to more Bwan Sandy. Like, for sure. I want to know more about what's going on there. I don't know. I'm just looking forward to new stuff that doesn't feel horribly cobbled together like 8.3 did. Like 8.3 just felt a bit
slap.
I don't know. Now we've got to go on record of saying 8.3, while it's been going on for a while, isn't the longest final patch in the history of WoW. I think that was WOD's final patch.
I think
which was 14 months, or was that Siege of Orgrimmar? Siege of Orgrimmar was 14 months, right? Whereas 8.3's been 10 months at this point, I think. So
patch 5.4.
So Siege of Orgrimmar
was the longest content patch.
Oh yeah, Siege of Orgrimmar.
350 days.
Anyway, but yeah, just we've talked a lot about stuff that we're looking forward to seeing and stuff we would want to see. Just like I said, the most important thing for me in Shadowlands is they have a coherent storyline going throughout it, rather than the mess that was Battle for Azeroth. Not to say that bits of Battle for Azeroth weren't great, but it didn't feel like a coherent story to me. I think that's where we're going to wrap up, right? Like,
I think so. Yeah.
now is the plan to come back after this and do some gaming, or
maybe I got some stuff I need to do around. I also need to go see a doctor about my ankle I may have sprained over the weekend, so might be back later. Might be back later today, if not definitely tomorrow for crossing fingers.
Teamwork Tuesday.
Yeah, cross your fingers. Teamwork Tuesday, and hopefully not
either Teamwork Tuesday or
Bob cursing.
There will be some form of WoW happening tomorrow, whether it's Teamwork Tuesday or the two of them doing stuff and me poking around playing Underlords in the background.
Because there's a massive patch download, and his computer hates massive patch downloads.
Yeah. I just want to wake up tomorrow, and then after maintenance, see pre-patch is live and be a happy bunny, because I've got the itch to level. I've got the itch to level characters, but I don't want to start leveling before Shadowlands at this point. So
I've tried, and it just doesn't feel good, man.
I got my monk to 120 so that I can play with Wycombe when pre-patch starts. Right, and that's all I needed to do. Beanie B.
Yep.
Let's sign off.
I think with that we will sign off. I've been Jordan. You can follow me on the internet as Mr. NNJ. I do believe, yep, my Twitter handle is down there, MR_NNJ. You can follow the channel at 321 Podcast, where we I share whenever I'm going live, whenever we go live with Teamwork Tuesdays, or basically whenever we go live. Also retweeting stuff from Voices from the Grid and Awesome Mania when I remember to retweet those.
Yeah.
When I remember to actually get around to doing it.
As for me, find me at Bob T. Goldfish. Yeah, I'm booking it. You can also find Awesome Mania, which is a wrestling podcast I do with a friend of the channel, Michael Lindenbaum, over at thxthockey.com/awesomemania. And Michael and I, along with two of our other friends, Sasha and Brian,
Hi, Brian Massey.
Yeah, we do a Power Rangers podcast called Voices from the Grid, where we go through and we discuss various episodes. In order, we review the episodes. Sometimes we have like fun little scripted intros to episodes. I think kind of a storyline building up, and we're actually recording a draft tomorrow night for our between seasons. We're putting out season 1 right now. Before we start recording season 2, we're gonna record a draft where we all draft our own individual Ranger teams. You'll find that over at thxthockey.com/draft. VFTG, or on Twitter at VFTG_PR. I also do a bi-weekly column called My Journey, where I discuss my thoughts on various Power Rangers seasons. Coming out next Monday will be the Time Force column, and then 2 Mondays after that will be Wild Force, and after that the structure of things is going to be changing just a little bit, as I am running out of content to write about, and I can't watch 40 episodes of Power Rangers in 2 weeks anymore. So we're kind of changing up the format a little.
2 half seasons.
No, it's going to be. I'm going to be posting on My Journey once a month, and on the off weeks, which used to be My Journeys, we're going to be having a column called Musings from the Grid, where the other hosts actually get off their butts and write things. Yeah, so there's that.
Answer the all-important question, but why does that monkey have a sword?
Why does that monkey have a sword? ¿Dónde está le songe le épée? And remember, Mufasa. Scar as Mufasa fell.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we're just getting into old convention memes at this point. Someone's going to yell 1 of 77 in a minute.
No, they'll be you tomorrow. They'll be you tomorrow trying to install the pre-patch.
Yeah. Well, in all fairness, there has been background downloading for like a week now.
Yep, that's true.
Which makes me think the pre-patch is tomorrow, right? Like, because pre-patch is usually a month before release, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and this has a lot more stuff they need to implement and tune in. So if you're expecting a month of event content, that needs next week. Plus, they have to finish tuning in.
So it looks like a 2-hour maintenance tomorrow.
So
to me, feels like they're flipping a switch.
Amy and I will be doing Teamwork Tuesday and getting ahead of Bob again.
7 a.m. PDT to 9 a.m. PDT.
Bob in the background. 7 of 77. Eric Andre at the fence. I
don't know, man. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody.
Before we go completely off the rails,
stay with us. We're going to go to the outro screen. I'm going to stop the recording, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do a raid. So, just we're going to go to the outro screen real quick, and we'll be right back.